What if I told you that Homelander is gonna throw down with Superman soon? Would you believe it? Well, out of nowhere, DC announced that Homelander will be in the new comic event that's already happening, called DC K.O. And on top of that, other characters from various franchises will also be showing up. DC really brought their A-game at the New York Comic Con with this announcement, but of course they didn't stop there. They also announced a new animated film featuring Batman. A new editorial line is coming to DC Comics, and they dropped the official trailer for Bat-Bam, the new animated series continuing from the Merry Little Batman movie. There's a lot going on that's gonna blow your mind, so without further ado, let's dive into each one.
Let's kick things off with the confirmed news from the New York Comic Con related to comics. DC came in strong with the panel for DC K.O. This mega event is currently happening in the comics, and it's a tournament where DC characters are going to fight each other to decide who gets to be the Omega King and face Darkseid in the end. It's basically a martial arts tournament like the ones you see in Dragon Ball, but in the DC universe. I'll be dropping a video here on the channel about this saga soon, so keep your eyes peeled. If the cliffhanger left at the end of the first issue involving the Absolute Universe wasn't enough, Scott Snyder dropped a bomb by revealing characters from various franchises that are going to appear in the crossover.
Among them, there's Annabelle, Red Sonja, Homelander, Bihan Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat, Vampirella, and even a bear from the comic Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees.
Seriously, these are some major surprises, and I'm hyped about Homelander's involvement. It's not confirmed how this will pan out, but I doubt DC and Scott Snyder will miss a chance to set up a Homelander vs. Superman showdown. That fight's gonna be epic, right? We still don't know many details about how these characters will come into play, but it's likely we're gonna see some insane battles with DC heroes. I can't think of any other reason for a crossover, right? The hype was off the charts. In the last issue, they already had the Trinity of the Absolute Universe, and that alone was enough to get everyone amped up, but now they're throwing in even more totally unexpected characters. With this, we can expect just about any appearance in this saga. We don't know if there'll be more characters beyond these, but if there are, it's because they're big names. I feel like Scott Snyder wants to keep the fans even more hyped for this saga. Another super important thing that Scott Snyder confirmed is that the fights will have 3 rounds and some will be resolved in a pretty brutal way. And here's the cool idea. They're going to allow each round to resurrect a version of the character from their past. For instance, in the fight between Red Hood and the Joker, in round 2, Jason Todd will show up as Robin when he was still a kid. How awesome is that? This could happen in all the other fights too. Plus, the battles will also take place in other DC comics, the famous tie-ins. In the main comic, we'll have the unfolding of the main plot, but in the tie-ins, all the battles will be going down. For example, Batman has already been revealed to face the Robins in their Batman forms. They've even shared the designs for Dick Grayson as Batman, Jason Todd as Batman, Tim Drake, and Damian Wayne.
I love this idea because it gives way more space to develop the battles instead of cramming everything into one comic. Finally, a solid tie-in concept, right? Now moving on to another piece of news, DC confirmed a new editorial line for next year, the famous imprint that appears in the comics. Over the years, there have been several imprints like New 52, DCU, DC Rebirth, Dawn of DC, and now we'll have Next Level. And with that, a bunch of new comics will be hitting next year, including Batwoman by Greg Rucka, yeah, the writer's coming back, to the Batwoman comics, and also there's going to be Firestorm, Shadow of the Bat, Satana, Lobo, Etrigan, Deathstroke, and Barbara Gordon. Notice that the logos released are heavily reminiscent of the 80s. There will be more comics announced, but for now, these are the ones we got. This new line is set to launch in March 2026. Another confirmed bit of news is the return of the Vertigo line, which DC is bringing back after quite some time. The Vertigo line has always been the most authorial imprint of DC, and while it's sometimes linked to the DC universe, many times it's done independently. Huge classics have been published under Vertigo. DC had mentioned the return beforehand, but now we know the new comics are coming in the first wave, and they made it clear that the Black Label will continue. with one difference. The Black Label focuses on DC characters, while Vertigo is about showcasing author-driven stories. Like it or not, author-driven comics didn't really get the appreciation they deserved when they were published under the same label as DC superhero comics. But now they're aggressing the issue of independent comics and bringing back artists who had left the publisher to work on their own projects at other publishers like Image or Dark Horse. This opens the door for new talents to emerge in DC, and who knows, maybe they'll eventually write superhero comics too. That's a win-win.
Now on to other updates. We also had a big announcement regarding animations. For 2026, they announced a new animated film featuring Batman, adapting the classic Knightfall saga. Yep, the famous saga where Bane breaks Batman's back. It's a lengthy storyline, and this film is expected to cover all the major events, from the introduction of Azrael and Batman facing off against the villains released from Arkham Asylum by Bane to the moment Batman is defeated by Bane. John Paul Valley, aka Azrael, takes on the Batman identity and wreaks havoc in Gotham as a much more intense Batman. And of course, it leads up to the moment Bruce Wayne heals, goes through all the training to regain his role as Batman, and then reclaims his mantle from John Paul Valley. The expectation is that this adaptation will be true to the comics, much like The Dark Knight Returns and Year One. So far, we don't have more information or official images other than what you're seeing now, so we're unsure what style the animation will have. The only confirmations given by the screenwriter state that it will be an animated feature divided into 3 parts, and that Robin in this animation will be Tim Drake. Fans were worried that Tim Drake might be swapped out for Daniel Wayne in this Knightfall adaptation, but the screenwriter has clarified that now that swap won't happen and we will indeed have Tim Drake, keeping it old school, meaning we can expect a Tim Drake that's true to the 90s comic style. That's some good news, and if there's one thing DC can't skimp on, it's their animated films.
Still on the topic of animations, another exciting update involves a new animated series that was announced a while back. Prime Video has dropped a trailer for the new animated series featuring Batman called BatFam. It's a direct continuation of the Merry Little Batman movie, which surprisingly entertained a lot of people when it came out on streaming. I know there are people who haven't checked it out yet because of the animation style, but trust me, it's a solid animated film, especially as a Christmas Batman movie. Just like the previous film, BatFam won't be a serious animation aimed at adults. For a more mature vibe, there's Cape Crusader, which will soon have its second season. But I still think BatFam is going to be a lot of fun, and I'll be watching as soon as the episodes drop. The new animated series premieres on November 10th on Prime Video, so there's less than a month left, huh? Are you going to watch it?
There were definitely a ton of announcements, and along with these updates I've covered in this video, there were also some details about LEGO Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight, but I'll be dropping a focused video on that topic here on the channel soon. Also, we have more updates on the DCU from James Gunn to discuss shortly. So to make sure you don't miss anything DC related, hit that like button on the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because that's the only way to stay up to date with all things superheroes. Thanks so much for being here. I'm going to leave you with 2 videos to check out in case you haven't seen them. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.